First of all, let's get one thing straight. Crack is cheap. I don't do crack. We don't do that.
I've always been a good provider. I wasn't a good father. I was a good provider. You understand? I gave my kids everything but me.
How can I pay child support? How can I work? How can I get paid? How can I take care of my kids?
That's the only real incentive that I've had in reference to real projection and trying to accomplish something.
In the music world, sustained fame is elusive. A harsh reality is that heightened celebrity increases vulnerability to temptation and poor judgment. Certain artists, regardless of talent, succumb to destructive paths, resulting in devastating R&B tragedies. The narratives of 18 notable figures, soon to be revealed, have indelibly impacted the entertainment industry through scandalous events. Who are they? This video unveils the answer. Be prepared for surprising revelations. The contrast between their glamorous image and the reality will be shocking.
After a bad experience with a very bad accountant and spending a lot of money on, I was off into drugs then at that time, seriously. And
18. Rick James, a funk icon whose life spiraled into a criminal web. Rick James, famed for his Super Freak hit, reigned as a 1980s funk music legend. His enduring hits, such as Give It To Me Baby and Super Freak, captivated audiences, resulting in over 15 million records sold. A massive $11 million Motown contract masked a hidden life of drugs, violence, and crime. However, Rick James's celebrity came at a terrible cost. A decadent lifestyle fueled by all-night parties, cocaine, crack, violent assaults, and heinous crimes. This man who scaled the heights plummeted into an abyss of self-created depravity. His downfall began in the 1990s as his substance abuse and criminal activities intensified. This darkness led Rick James to make horrific, irrevocable decisions. In the summer of 1991, a shocking incident unfolded. James and his girlfriend, Tanya Hijazi, hosted a 3-day drug-fueled party. When a dancer declined sexual advances, she was bound and severely beaten. She was compelled to snort cocaine throughout the night. Her hair was set ablaze with a Zippo lighter while Rick James shouted, "I made this world, you're just trash." Her ordeal only ended when James and Tanya succumbed to drug overdoses. A week later, a hotel employee suffered a similar brutal attack. The public was appalled by this revelation, and Rick James's crimes could no longer be concealed. His lawyer's defense, temporary insanity caused by cocaine use, proved inadequate. Facing 12 charges with a potential sentence of up to 30 years, he served only 2. Tanya received a 15-month sentence. Released in 1996, his life and career were shattered. Record labels rejected him, debts mounted, and accusations of violence persisted. Countless killings and unsolved investigations tarnished Rick James's legacy. Under FBI surveillance due to his bodyguard's murders and mysterious disappearances, his life was a series of unpunished crimes. On August 6, 2004, Rick James was discovered dead and alone in his modest San Fernando Valley apartment. His body displayed traces of 9 different drugs, over 40 arrests, 3 unresolved lawsuits, and millions in debt serve as a stark reminder of this fallen legend's catastrophic decline.
Into trust. I don't know about huge sums, but they go into trust for October 21.
17. Frankie Lyman, a teenage musical genius destroyed by substance abuse, tumultuous relationships, and legal battles. Frankie Lyman was a leading figure in American doo-wop music. At just 13, his song Why Do Fools Fall in Love with the Teenagers catapulted him to national fame, making him the first black teenage idol to top the Billboard charts. However, this early success foreshadowed a tragic downfall. A week after its 1956 release, his debut single sold over 150,000 copies daily. G Records profited immensely, yet Lyman received a meager $10 weekly. He even had to borrow his stage guitar. His transformation from a prodigious talent to a manipulated artist marked the beginning of his struggles. In 1957, following a performance in Georgia, Frankie experimented with heroin. This single use initiated a destructive spiral. Within 9 months, he was using heroin almost nightly. His physical appearance deteriorated, and his performances became gaunt and lifeless. His interactions with the press became increasingly erratic. After being dismissed from his group in 1958, he began fraudulently selling his songwriting rights to multiple labels using forged documents. The resulting fraud charges exceeded $80,000, equivalent to over $700,000 today. This led to his abandonment by record labels, estranged relationships with bandmates, and bans from recording studios. He became increasingly volatile, blaming the music industry for exploiting him. His life spiraled from singer to full-blown addict. Between 1960 and 1967, Lyman endured 3 short, turbulent marriages. One wife left after only 3 months when he eloped with a different woman. He abandoned another wife, a single mother, just 6 weeks after their wedding, leaving her with unpaid rent and debt to Columbia Records. A third wife discovered his infidelity, triggering a destructive outburst where he damaged their home and physically injured her. Amidst this turmoil, he entered rehab in December 1967, hoping for a second chance and a new recording contract. However, after receiving an advance, he immediately spent it on heroin, resulting in the cancellation of his recording session. His final opportunity vanished. On February 27, 1968, Lyman was discovered deceased in his grandmother's bathroom. Found on his person were heroin, a syringe, and an unfinished song. The circumstances surrounding his death remain ambiguous. At the age of 25, he left behind a fake ring, an unsubmitted job application, and an ongoing 6-year legal battle with 3 ex-wives over the rights to his hit song, a dispute costing nearly $500,000.
First of all, let's get one thing straight. Crack is cheap. I don't do crack. We don't do that.
16. Whitney Houston, one of the most iconic singers of the 20th century, achieved global fame with I Will Always Love You from The Bodyguard. Her album sold over 45 million copies worldwide, signifying a career peak. However, this success was followed by a devastating spiral of addiction and personal turmoil. She never truly recovered. Starting in 1993, after marrying Bobby Brown, Whitney began using cocaine to cope with stress, marking a critical turning point. Cocaine, alcohol, and Xanax became daily necessities. Weekly drug expenses sometimes reached $12,000. Her dressing rooms transformed into places where she and Bobby engaged in uncontrolled drug use. Their relationship deteriorated rapidly. Whitney violently threw a phone at Bobby's face, injuring him. Bobby retaliated by punching her stomach. Their intense, destructive love persisted despite the violence. In 2003, when Bobby assaulted her at their Atlanta home, Whitney refused to testify, highlighting the complexities of their relationship. During her addiction, Whitney concealed a significant relationship: her love for Robin Crawford, her assistant and former lover. She wrote in her diary, "I love Robin in a way no one understands. Bobby's jealousy and control led to Robin's removal from her life. This untold story further illustrates Whitney's inner struggles. Despite a net worth exceeding $100 million, Whitney accumulated substantial debt. By 2006, she had less than $40,000 in her account. Her spending was excessive, $750,000 in 2 weeks, on drugs, jewelry, and designer clothes. She even pawned a Grammy Award to obtain sedatives. Whitney's daughter, Bobby Christina, suffered greatly due to her mother's struggles. Bobby Christina was often left unsupervised. In one instance, she was alone in a hotel while Whitney disappeared for 3 days. Bobby Christina's upbringing was marked by both love and turmoil. Tragically, she died in 2015 under similar circumstances to her mother. On February 11, 2012, Whitney Houston was found dead in her Beverly Hilton hotel bathroom, submerged in a bathtub. The coroner's report indicated the presence of cocaine, Xanax, Flexeril, and alcohol. The scene included a dish with white powder residue and a half-burned candle. She died alone in a $375 a night room. A person downstairs heard a noise around 3 a.m., mistaking it for running water. Whitney Houston left an immense musical legacy with over 200 million records sold. Her life, however, serves as a cautionary tale, a brilliant career overshadowed by addiction, betrayal, and ultimately tragedy.
Because, man, I had taken my family, my wife, my career, taking everything, man, for granted. I lost the direction of life, man.
15. Ike Turner, a prominent figure in R&B, met a solitary end amidst a cocaine addiction. Initially lauded as a rock and roll pioneer, his 1951 recording of Rocket 88, featuring his piano playing, is widely considered the first rock song. He masterminded the Ike and Tina Turner Revue, propelling hits like Proud Mary and River Deep Mountain High to global acclaim. However, a terrifying darkness lurked beneath the surface of his success. The 1957 marriage to Tina Turner wasn't a love story. It was a 19-year prison sentence for her. Tina lived each day as a captive in a lavish home, her every financial decision, word, and movement controlled by Ike. He once questioned her intensely about a minor billing discrepancy. Substantial show earnings, sometimes reaching $30,000 per night, were pocketed by Ike. Tina received a mere $50 weekly, barely enough for fuel and basic toiletries. Backstage was a scene of relentless abuse. Tina endured at least 50 beatings during their marriage. After one attack that left her with a punctured eardrum from a pummeling with fists and a guitar cord, Ike meticulously documented the frequency of his assaults, treating it as a managerial task. In 1971, following a brutal beating that resulted in a bruised shoulder, a lacerated neck, and 9 stitches, she was coerced into relinquishing all her assets. In 1976, after a vicious attack with a shoe heel at the Statler Hilton, Tina escaped with only 36 cents and a gas card, barefoot and penniless. The abuse extended beyond physical violence. Ike transformed his band into a veiled sex trafficking operation. During a 1965 tour, he had sexual relations with at least 5 female dancers, including 17-year-old twin sisters from Oklahoma. By 1970, the press revealed Ike's paternity of at least 11 illegitimate children, all financially supported by band funds. Money Tina had earned. Offstage, Ike was accused by fellow musicians of theft, accumulating suitcases overflowing with tens of thousands of dollars in tips, wages, and bonuses. Saxophonist Raymond Hill claimed he received only $180 for 16 performances. No one dared to resist, as Ike consistently carried a firearm, ready to use it against anyone who defied him. Following his ex-wife's escape, Ike Turner's life spiraled further downward. He plunged deeper into cocaine to numb the pain. One episode involved a 72-hour cocaine binge that culminated in a bathroom collapse with a nosebleed. Between 1981 and 1985, he was arrested 9 times, including an incident where he beat a girlfriend until her teeth were broken after she disposed of his cocaine. He frequently crashed cars while intoxicated, totaling 5 Cadillacs and a Corvette purchased just 2 weeks earlier within a 3-year period. In July 1989, a police raid on his View Park home uncovered over 14 grams of cocaine, a 9mm handgun, and $21,700 in cash concealed within a piano. He received an 18-month sentence in a California men's institution. Even in prison, his disruptive behavior continued. He once struck his head against a wall after being denied additional painkillers. After his release, he attempted a career revival with the 2001 album Here and Now. Despite a Grammy nomination, it was a commercial failure. He lacked gigs and collaborators. His credit cards were maxed out, and his utilities were disconnected. He relied on Social Security and a small portion of Rocket 88 royalties, less than $800 monthly. His tragic end came on December 12, 2007, when Ike Turner was found deceased on his sofa 18 hours after his last known contact. On the table lay a porcelain dish with cocaine residue, a rolled-up $100 bill, and an empty whiskey glass. The coroner attributed his death to a chronic cocaine overdose, complicated by severe liver damage, a weak heart, and hypertension. His estate consisted of $13,112 in the bank, an old piano, a few worn notebooks, and some unreleased music recordings.
I can also look back and I can think of all the blessings I've had, and my blessings actually outweigh all of the negative things that have
14. Marvin Gaye, a musical icon and a life cut short. Marvin Gaye, a monumental figure in music during the 1960s and 70s, didn't merely impact music with iconic works such as What's Going On, but also created a lasting legacy with his incredible vocal talent. However, the price of such immense success was a life filled with hardship, substance abuse, and ultimately an unbearable family catastrophe. While Gaye's records achieved multi-million sales, his personal life was deeply troubled. During the 1970s, drug use consumed him, transforming him into a solitary figure, roaming the streets late into the night. Despite his renown, he suffered greatly from addiction and fractured relationships. His initial marriage to Anna Gordy ended in divorce in 1977. Initiating a protracted and expensive legal battle. Subsequently, his career faltered as drug use became a constant presence. His tax liabilities mounted into the millions, and allegations of domestic violence further isolated him, eroding the trust of those closest to him. Finally, on 1st April 1984, a devastating event occurred. A dispute with his father concerning finances escalated into uncontrolled violence. In a fit of rage, Marvin Sr. shot his son twice in the chest, bringing a premature end to the life of a musical genius. These fatal shots not only silenced a remarkable talent, but also concluded a life marked by profound suffering.
I could hear it. I don't know if you understand it, but I could hear what he was saying and give him that melody and projection to understand the song.
13. Bobby Womack, a soulful voice tormented by inner demons. Born in Cleveland, Ohio, into a musical family, Bobby Womack was destined for soul music greatness. However, his illustrious career was overshadowed by unforgettable controversies. The poignant melodies of Across 110th Street weren't merely a lament for the impoverished. They reflected Womack's own life, marked by betrayal, violence, addiction, and grievous errors. In 1965, 77 days after the death of legendary singer Sam Cooke, Bobby Womack married Barbara Cooke, his close friend's widow, whom he had known as Uncle Bobby during his childhood. This act ignited fury within the music industry, almost instantly derailing his career. Public forgiveness proved elusive, particularly given his subsequent occupation of Sam's mansion, use of his Cadillac, and appropriation of his personal effects. The situation intensified when Womack began an affair with Linda, Sam Cooke's stepdaughter, while Barbara was at work. One day, Barbara returned home to find them both unclothed in the recording studio. Her anger flared, reaching its apex when she pointed a firearm at Womack. Although the gun failed to discharge, the scandal rapidly escalated, causing widespread devastation. Linda was sent away, Womack was evicted, and his career plummeted. In the ensuing years, Womack succumbed to heroin, cocaine, and unrestrained debauchery. A multi-million-dollar fortune evaporated during this tumultuous period. $2.3 million represented only a small portion of his drug-fueled expenditures. He faced death several times in violent altercations. His performances lacked their former vibrancy. His vocal abilities deteriorated, and his health declined. Worst of all, Womack became a betrayer of Sam Cooke's legacy. Haunted by his deceased friend's spirit, Womack allegedly sold Sam's unreleased recordings for paltry sums, further exacerbating his intractable financial problems. Finally, on June 27, 2014, Bobby Womack, once a music industry giant, ended his life in isolation. His California residence was filled only with painful memories. He was visited by no one, and nobody stayed. The funeral of this legend drew only 9 attendees. His name faded into obscurity, leaving his music a mere echo of a bygone era.
I think the black man is making a tremendous stride, not only in America, but throughout the world,
12. James Brown, the soul king who died alone without a farewell. James Brown, a name that made the world dance, an unyielding symbol of soul, funk, and R&B music. From a reformatory, he transformed Please, Please, Please into a million-selling record, creating his own empire without succumbing to any record label. At his zenith, he possessed 17 houses, 3 radio stations, a private airfield, and performed more than 350 nights annually. However, behind the stage lights existed a tumultuous life that spiraled into chaos. During the 70s and 80s, while at the height of his power, rumors circulated about illicit funds flowing into his radio network, shell corporations, suitcases overflowing with $50,000 in cash, and employees with histories of arms trafficking. This was merely the tip of the iceberg. His name surfaced in FBI files, suspected of laundering drug money and proceeds from illegal performances. Investigator Raymond Clay disappeared after connecting James to the Colombo Mafia family. Remaining witnesses either recanted their statements or vanished. By the 1980s, James Brown became addicted to cocaine, PCP, and sedatives. On September 24, 1988, he erupted in a fit of rage, storming a building with a firearm over a stolen bathroom fixture, subsequently leading an 80-minute, 2-state car chase involving police and helicopters. Inside the vehicle, firearms, narcotics, blood, and eventual collapse. Sentenced to 6 years, he served 27 months, emerging a broken man, his voice raspy and worn. In the 1990s, he attempted a comeback, but his albums failed, shows were canceled, and he physically assaulted his wife, attacked fans, threatened staff, and continued his drug use backstage. Adrian, his wife, who endured years of abuse, died suddenly before a trial, taking secrets with her. A stage manager perished in a car fire. A technician who filed a lawsuit against him disappeared. Everything concluded oddly, suspiciously. In his final years, James was a gaunt figure weighing under 110 pounds, trembling on stage, requiring 2 people to support him. He passed away on Christmas Day 2006 in a cold room. No family, no friends, no tears. His burial took place 75 days later, 15 years on. His legacy remains fractured by 13 alleged children, 3 warring family factions, and numerous lawyers.
Here's the deal. So many people have been stealing my money. Didn't know what I was doing, didn't know what the hell was going on.
11. R. Kelly, a fall from R&B royalty to convicted criminal. A dazzling star, the reigning king of 90s R&B, his voice captivated audiences, and his hits were global phenomena. That was R. Kelly. His 1993 album 12 Play was an immediate success, instantly establishing him as the top R&B artist. I Believe I Can Fly and Bump and Grind weren't merely songs. They became anthems for a generation. Kelly possessed unparalleled songwriting talent, effortlessly mastering every musical trend, solidifying his status as a legendary figure. From electrifying performances to prestigious award ceremonies, he was the epitome of a music idol. Yet, lurking beneath this glamorous facade was a horrifying secret. A growing darkness poised to consume everything. This darkness emerged during his prime. In 1994, at the height of his fame, Kelly shocked the world with a scandalous secret marriage. He secretly wed Aaliyah, a teenage singing prodigy, only 15 years old. A falsified marriage certificate, a clandestine ceremony, marking Kelly's first serious transgression. When the truth surfaced, the court swiftly annulled the marriage. The public was aghast, yet Kelly, leveraging his fame, managed to downplay the incident. Rumors circulated. Kelly displayed a preference for very young girls. Teenage girls were manipulated and exploited, but his fame shielded him from suspicion. The full extent of his depravity became public in 2002. A pornographic video emerged depicting Kelly engaging in explicit acts with an underage girl. The world watched in disbelief. The once celebrated artist was now viewed as a criminal. That video wasn't just evidence, it shattered his carefully constructed image. The trial ensued, with Kelly investing millions in top legal counsel. Remarkably, he was acquitted. But public skepticism remained. Doubt had been sown, and Kelly's shadow grew. He continued releasing albums and performing, but the public perception had irrevocably shifted. The 2000s marked Kelly's self-inflicted downfall. In 2005, several women came forward, accusing him of sexually abusing them as minors. They recounted harrowing accounts of confinement in dark rooms where Kelly exerted complete control over their lives. Lawsuits mounted. Allegations of domestic violence, financial fraud, and manipulation of young artists such as Sparkle. Kelly was not simply an abuser. He was a tyrannical figure within the music industry. He routinely failed to pay collaborators, defrauded managers, and cheated producers. By 2013, he faced millions of dollars in debt despite living a life of extravagance. By 2019, his tax debt ballooned to over $5 million, resulting in asset seizures. Friends distanced themselves, family relationships crumbled, but Kelly remained defiant, appearing invincible. Then 2019 arrived, and his world imploded. The documentary, Surviving R. Kelly, unleashed a torrent of revelations, exposing the truth. Adult victims shared their horrific experiences, confinement in secret apartments, enduring physical and psychological abuse, and being stripped of their freedom. One woman recounted weeks of imprisonment, only receiving food when Kelly permitted it. The evidence amassed, videos, testimonies, and documents. Public outrage reached a fever pitch. Sony Music severed ties, and Spotify and Apple Music removed his music. Award shows scrubbed his name from their records. Once a king, Kelly became a social outcast. But it wasn't over. In 2022, justice prevailed. After decades of evasion, R. Kelly was sentenced to 30 years for sexually abusing minors, human trafficking, and operating a criminal sex enterprise. From a beloved music icon, R. Kelly is now a convicted felon, left to contemplate the consequences of his actions. 10. David Prater, a soul music legend, descending into the depths of addiction and vice. David Prater formed one half of the iconic duo Sam and Dave, achieving global fame with anthems such as Soul Man and Hold On I'm Comin'. His deep baritone voice captivated the 1960s. He embodied the spirit of Southern soul, a powerful representation of African American music. However, his success disintegrated after 1970. Following the breakup of Sam and Dave, Prater succumbed to substance abuse. Cocaine, alcohol, promiscuity, and reckless nights in low-rent clubs gradually silenced his renowned voice. By the late 1970s, he shattered his family through infidelity and physically abusing his wife while intoxicated. His 3 children were forsaken. His wife endured constant fear of relentless violence. In 1987, Prater was arrested for selling crack cocaine to an undercover police officer in New Jersey. This incident severely damaged his reputation, resulting in only a suspended sentence and a minimal $2,980 fine. A year later, in March 1988, he perished tragically in a car accident on a trip to Georgia. His body was severely injured, his blood staining the driver's seat. His passing generated little public sorrow. His musical achievements were overshadowed by his self-destructive lifestyle. A great talent was lost, and no effort was made to remember him.
And the next thing I did with Leo Morris, Idris Mohammed, got me the gig with the high school music teacher Solomon Spencer, and the band's called Avalon.
9. Aaron Neville, a car thief who became a New Orleans R&B legend. Possessing one of history's most unique falsetto voices, Aaron Neville achieved widespread success with Tell It Like It Is, solidifying his status as an essential figure in New Orleans music. However, his past as a juvenile delinquent, addict, unfaithful spouse, and tax evasion suspect remains largely unknown. In 1958, at age 17, Aaron faced arrest for stealing a car and illegally carrying a firearm. A 6-month prison sentence exposed him to isolation, brutality, and hopelessness. Upon release, he succumbed to heroin addiction. Throughout the 1960s, Aaron's life spiraled into substance abuse and reckless behavior. Nights were filled with drug-induced hallucinations, alcohol-fueled insomnia, and countless casual encounters. During the 1970s, despite being married, his infidelity led to marital breakdown. As his musical career flourished, the IRS scrutinized his finances due to unpaid taxes. His life teetered on the brink of collapse once more. The release of Tell It Like It Is, however, rescued him from despair. His journey was a dramatic transformation from a street criminal and drug user to a prominent R&B artist. Even at the height of his fame, the marks of his troubled past remained indelibly etched upon him.
So I took what I knew about the sax and the piano, stuck it in my throat, and destroyed a song.
Ikari 8. Screaming Jay Hawkins, the insane voodoo priest, and 33 fatherless children with one father. Screaming Jay Hawkins was the epitome of unrestrained pandemonium in rock and roll history. He wasn't merely a vocalist, he was a walking nightmare. The first to introduce a coffin on stage, clutching a skull while wailing like a demon. I Put a Spell on You was prohibited in numerous states due to its unsettling nature. However, that song was only the tip of the iceberg. Hawkins himself was the genuine curse. Starting in 1952, Hawkins plunged headlong into self-destruction. Each performance was a drunken spree, averaging 7 bottles of bourbon weekly, combined with sleeping pills or amphetamines. That was his formula for maintaining excitement. Following his performances came countless nights of destruction and screaming. Hotels in Chicago, Dallas, and New York contacted the police at least 12 times over 5 years. Yet, no one dared to testify. No one possessed the courage to speak the truth. Women who left his room remained silent, many bearing bruises, but none reported anything. By the 1960s, Hawkins had no comprehension of money. He didn't save it, he squandered it. All his show earnings were spent on hard liquor, cigarettes, prostitutes, and flamboyant suits. His 1971 tax return showed over $150,000 in unreported income, prompting an IRS investigation. His music royalties were nearly confiscated in 1973. He only escaped by agreeing to pay $40,000 in back taxes and penalties over 3 years. But by 1976, the pattern persisted. Every warning bounced off him like the final glass of bourbon. In 1982, during a 10-day tour, Hawkins vandalized 3 hotel rooms, shattering mirrors, smashing televisions, and scorching curtains with cigarette butts. The total damage exceeded $9,500. No apologies were offered, only a wild grin and the same remark to his manager, "I'm Screaming Jay. I create chaos." On February 12, 2000, Hawkins passed away in France due to surgical complications from an ear operation. His estate was practically non-existent, consisting of a few stage costumes, a dilapidated Cadillac, and the royalties from I Put a Spell on You, which generated approximately $12,000 annually. He left no official will, only a handwritten note from 1993 stating, "If my children appear, they inherit the estate." There were no witnesses, no legal counsel. When his death was announced, another tragedy ensued. Over 50 individuals from across the US, Canada, and even the Bahamas contacted his manager, claiming to be his biological children. After almost a year of turmoil, a television station funded DNA tests for the entire group. The outcomes were astonishing. 33 individuals actually carried Hawkins's genes, including 4 sets of twins. None knew each other. None had ever heard their father's voice outside of old recordings. An 8-year legal battle commenced, not for money, as there was none to contend over. They fought over scraps, a skull-topped cane, an unfinished handwritten letter, a torn piece of a cape. No one emerged victorious. No one received anything except the harsh reality. Their father was a voodoo priest who lived a chaotic life and left behind a legacy of blood, screams, and nameless solitude.
Actually, then they introduced me. Rolled me out there with the police escort. We promised him to you. The wicked Wilson Pickett.
7. Wilson Pickett, a soul music legend consumed by a self-destructive cycle of alcohol abuse, violence, and sex scandals. Pickett, a monumental figure in soul music, achieved immortality with classics such as In the Midnight Hour and Land of 1,000 Dances, establishing his status as a leading Southern soul artist during the 1960s and 70s. However, a tumultuous personal life fueled by self-destructive behaviors shadowed his public success. On June 17, 1973, in an Atlanta establishment, Pickett, heavily intoxicated after excessive drinking, erupted in a rage, damaging property, menacing employees, and making threats of violence against anyone who tried to intervene. Although no injuries resulted, his reputation suffered significantly. A $10,000 fine and a temporary performance ban led to the swift cancellation of substantial contracts. Pickett's life subsequently took a downward turn. The years that followed were marked by barroom brawls, alcohol-related car accidents, and a serious 1987 vehicular collision. His daily existence was a relentless cycle of uncontrolled partying, physical altercations, and intoxicated driving incidents. Adding to this, Pickett engaged in at least 4 extramarital affairs, resulting in multiple children and protracted inheritance disputes following his passing. In 2006, he succumbed to heart failure, a tragic culmination of years of alcohol abuse and a chaotic lifestyle. A profoundly gifted musician, his life serves as a sobering illustration of the destructive consequences of addiction and violence.
He said that to me off stage. He gave me a hug that just about cut my wind off.
6. Ronald Isley. A music legend's fall into addiction, infidelity, and imprisonment. Ronald Isley, the iconic voice of the Isley Brothers and a 6-decade R&B legend, captivated audiences with enduring hits such as Shout and This Old Heart of Mine. However, a tumultuous personal life shadowed his career. During his career's zenith in the late 1990s, Ronald spiraled into a cycle of extramarital affairs and substance abuse. Starting in 1993, his seemingly idyllic marriage to Angela Winbush crumbled amidst revelations of his clandestine relationships. By 2002, their divorce culminated in acrimonious legal battles over property and child custody, engulfing Ronald in a media firestorm. Yet, a more devastating blow was imminent. Since the 1980s, Ronald had battled a cocaine addiction. Performances were canceled, his vocal abilities suffered, and internal band conflicts arose. The breaking point arrived in 2006 with his 3-year sentence for tax evasion exceeding $3 million, severely damaging his career. Released in 2010, his attempts at a comeback proved futile, his stardom waned, his career declined, and the R&B legend is now a nostalgic memory for his devoted followers. 5. CeeLo Green. A legendary musician destroyed by substance abuse, promiscuity, and reckless pronouncements. Initially a prominent figure in American music, CeeLo Green achieved widespread recognition with Nappy Roots' Crazy and his solo hit Forget You. He was a leading vocalist of the 2000s, a popular The Voice judge, and a distinctive R&B artist. However, his career experienced a sudden downfall. In July 2012, CeeLo hosted a private gathering at his residence. A female guest alleged that he laced her beverage with ecstasy and assaulted her while she was incapacitated. Although he avoided a rape conviction, CeeLo confessed to providing drugs. Yet, his downfall wasn't solely due to legal repercussions. It stemmed from a devastating social media post. If she's unconscious, it's not rape. This statement severely damaged his professional reputation. In 2014, a conviction was reached. All his engagements, endorsements, and his position on The Voice vanished. But this merely scratched the surface. Underlying issues included prolonged cocaine dependence, numerous extramarital affairs, public altercations, and property damage. His family life disintegrated, his marriage ended, and he alienated his friends. his musical output became infrequent, largely ignored. The voice that once captivated audiences is now a shunned, forgotten, and disgraced persona.
Just to share a few moments of intimate conversation that's not really relevant to any pertinent question that you may have asked, you see.
4. Al Green, a fallen angel, a soul icon with a violent, drug-addicted past. The 70s soul king, famed for Let's Stay Together, was an American music legend with over 20 million records sold. A stellar career, a smooth voice, yet his polished image was deceptive. In 1974, Al Green's former girlfriend attacked him in his Memphis residence, throwing boiling water that caused third-degree burns, leaving his back and arms severely scarred with peeling skin. She then committed suicide, shooting herself in their bedroom beside an unworn wedding gown. Her belongings included an unsigned testament, a firearm purchase receipt from 3 days earlier, and evidence of Green's rejection. The police swiftly concluded the investigation, but it was just the beginning. Subsequently, Green faced allegations of assaulting his secretary, causing facial lacerations needing 18 stitches by smashing her head into a glass door. This matter was also suppressed. 3 years later, another woman accused Green of striking her head with a tree branch, resulting in no arrest, and the case file disappearing within 3 weeks. Concurrently, he spent up to $8,000 weekly on narcotics and prostitutes, fathering 3 children in 3 different states, leading to a protracted paternity lawsuit due to Green's refusal of DNA testing. Following the Mary incident, he professed religious conversion, becoming a minister, only to be revealed as engaging in extramarital affairs immediately after Sunday services. He continued selling records, over 20 million, but never attained his 1972 level of success. Today, when he prays, the scars on his arms serve as a stark reminder of his fiery, bloody past. 3. Marion Suge Knight, the notorious head of Death Row Records, transformed the U.S. hip-hop scene. He propelled Dr. Dre, Tupac, and Snoop Dogg to legendary status, yet his own actions led to tragedy. Knight didn't simply produce music, he controlled it like a mob boss, employing intimidation and violence. In 1991, he established Death Row, not as a typical record label, but as a violent empire. The Los Angeles office was guarded, primarily by armed Bloods gang members. Artists were compelled to sign contracts in blood. Those who betrayed him faced severe consequences. In 1992, he used weapons to force Eazy-E to release Dr. Dre from NWA. Accounts claim Eazy-E was suspended from the ceiling, sustaining broken ribs to secure his signature. Dre's release led to Death Row generating over $75 million within a year, making Knight seemingly untouchable. However, 1996 marked a turning point. Tupac Shakur died. Knight was unharmed while Tupac received 4 gunshots. An unsigned contract to leave the label was found in Tupac's possession. A week later, Tupac's mother filed a lawsuit accusing Knight of royalty theft. Rumors circulated about Knight's involvement in Tupac's death to prevent him from leaving the label. Death Row subsequently crumbled. Artists departed. Dre founded Aftermath. Snoop Dogg joined No Limit. Knight fought to maintain his dwindling power. Over the following decade, Knight accumulated numerous fights, lawsuits, and arrests. He assaulted a man for wearing a Crips shirt. Over $30 million in royalties disappeared from the label's accounts. By 2006, Death Row declared bankruptcy with $137 million in debt. Knight was financially ruined. His downfall continued. In 2015, on the Straight Outta Compton movie set, Knight fatally struck Terry Carter with his truck. The incident was captured on camera. He claimed self-defense, but footage revealed him intentionally hitting Carter twice. In 2018, Knight pleaded guilty, receiving a 28-year sentence. The once ruthless kingpin, Suge Knight, is now inmate P765118, serving time, earning $12 a month. Death row continues under Snoop Dogg's leadership. Knight remains entombed within the empire he constructed through violence.
Attacked. Told my mom. Then she came to school and cussed the teacher out.
What color was the hair?
Like orange.
2. Chris Brown, a musical prodigy who self-destructed through substance abuse, violence, and assault. He was once the leading light of American R&B. At 16, his song Run It topped the Billboard charts, transforming an unknown black teenager into a global sensation. His debut album sold more than 3 million copies. By 17, he owned a $1 million home, luxury vehicles, and was considered Usher's successor. Brown epitomized a new generation, captivating audiences with his singing, dancing, and commanding stage presence. However, beneath the surface lay a troubled soul, a self-destructive pattern. In late 2007, Chris Brown began a relationship with Rihanna, a turning point that plunged his career into darkness. Publicly, they presented a romantic image. Privately, their relationship was marked by jealousy, control, and rage, fueled by ego and cocaine use. On February 7, 2009, following an argument with Rihanna about a text message, Chris Brown physically assaulted her. He punched her 7 times, bit her lip, choked her, and slammed her head against the window of a parked Lamborghini. This 90-second attack shattered his previously pristine public image. Subsequently, Chris Brown's life spiraled further downward. He received probation, community service, and a 5-year, 50-yard restraining order from Rihanna. His struggles worsened. By 2010, he was heavily abusing lean, a codeine-based syrup, along with marijuana and cocaine to maintain his performance energy. A staff member witnessed him snorting 3 lines of cocaine without hesitation. During a 2011 interview, when questioned about Rihanna, he violently reacted by smashing a mirror and throwing a chair through a 14th floor window, sending shards of glass onto the street below. He engaged in tumultuous relationships, dating both Rihanna and Karrueche Tran, only to be abandoned by both women. In late 2013, he assaulted a man outside a hotel, resulting in a 108-day jail sentence and a 15-pound weight loss, leaving his face gaunt and resembling a zombie. Following his release, he became increasingly paranoid, sending threatening photos of a gun stash to an ex-girlfriend, issuing threats to kill her if she dated someone else. The courts prohibited him from possessing weapons and mandated psychological evaluations. In 2016, police surrounded his mansion for 7 hours after he held a gun to a woman's head over a necklace. Law enforcement seized suspected heroin, 2,300 unlabeled pills, and a Glock handgun. 3 years later in Paris, he faced accusations of raping a model in a luxury hotel, dealing a final blow to his already diminished reputation. Chris Brown continues to produce music and maintain an online presence, yet he remains a symbol of self-destruction. In a 2022 livestream, he confessed to 4 sleepless days, relying on Xanax to prevent himself from assaulting others. He reportedly spends over $30,000 monthly on sedatives and therapy. Chris Brown remains alive, but his once brilliant career is effectively over.
Chart-topping Bobby Brown is performing his first show at the Garden as the headline act.
1. Robert Brown, a man whose life spiraled into ruin due to substance abuse, violence, and numerous extramarital relationships. Robert Brown achieved R&B superstardom, transitioning from New Edition to solo success with 90s hits. His song, My Prerogative, soared to the top of the charts, establishing him as a leading figure in the Jack Swain movement. However, this success was overshadowed by self-destructive behavior. In 1993, during an episode of uncontrolled anger, Robert assaulted Whitney Houston at their Atlanta residence, leaving her injured and their home damaged. He faced arrest, a $10,000 fine, and a temporary performance ban. This marked only the beginning of his decline. Starting in 1995, Robert became addicted to cocaine, spending over $1,500 per week on his habit. He experienced joblessness, periods of homelessness, even sleeping under a Los Angeles overpass. In 1996, arrested for driving under the influence, he confessed to having no memory of his actions or whereabouts during the preceding 48 hours. His tumultuous marriage, countless infidelities, and 7 children with 4 different women left Whitney emotionally and mentally devastated. Their acrimonious divorce concluded in 2007. His music career imploded. Fans rejected him. Robert Brown's name became synonymous with scandal in the American entertainment industry. Despite attempts at rehabilitation and reunions with New Edition, his troubled past, marked by addiction, self-destruction, and irreversible consequences, continue to haunt him. Such is the legacy Robert Brown created for himself. We've explored the difficult lives of several legendary Black R&B artists. Their personal struggles, poor decisions, and infamous controversies significantly impacted their lives over many years. It's truly unfortunate for such incredibly gifted individuals. Considering these artists, which one evokes the most sympathy in you? Share your opinions in the comments section, and remember to subscribe for more untold stories from behind the glamorous world of entertainment.